Protests in solidarity with Palestinians have gained momentum worldwide, and this as thousands take to the streets demanding an urgent ceasefire in Gaza. From Canada to Pakistan, the protests have grown louder, amplifying the urgent need for peace and resolution in this humanitarian crisis. In Canada, several protesters gathered outside the U.S. Consulate General in Toronto, rallying in support of Palestine and demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. They criticized the attacks by Israel, and several Jewish protesters said how a genocide was being done in their name.
We're here as Jews to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people, demanding an immediate ceasefire, demanding Israel let in humanitarian aid. They've only let in a shameful 80 trucks, end the genocide, end the occupation, and Canadian complicity in all this. Secondly, to speak to all my fellow Jews, I think we are all, a lot of us are descendants of the Holocaust, and we all need to look deep down inside because this is straight up genocide and it's being done in our name.
Meanwhile, London witnessed two waves of protests where protesters demonstrated in solidarity with both Palestinians and Israelis. Thousands gathered in central London, waving Palestinian flags, scarves and banners, showing their solidarity with Palestine. Protesters demanded an end to Israel's attacks in the Gaza Strip as they chanted slogans like "Free Palestine." On the other hand, protesters gathered outside the Qatari embassy in London to show solidarity with Israel and even called for the release of hostages held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The chain of demonstrators lined up in front of the embassy, waving Israeli flags and holding flyers with names and pictures of the hostages taken by Hamas on the attack on Israel on October 7th. Now, thousands of people protested in central Madrid in solidarity with Palestinians. Protesters marched towards the Sol Square chanting slogans like "It's not war, it's genocide," and demanded a ceasefire. In Lebanon, hundreds of protesters took to the streets for a rally in support of the Palestinians. A large crowd of protesters gathered in front of Al Amin Mosque in the Lebanese capital, waving Palestinian flags and demanding an end to the genocide in Gaza.
I want to address the entire world. You are watching while pure blood is being shed. Take a strong and courageous stance. Say no to the genocide happening on this small land in an area with a little population. Stop the genocide.
Meanwhile, thousands of supporters of Pakistan's biggest party marched through the streets of the capital city Islamabad, rallying in support of Palestine. Participants of the Gaza march turned the streets into a sea of Palestinian flags, urging the Pakistani government to support Palestine. And in Australia, thousands of pro-Palestinian supporters protested in Sydney, where they chanted slogans in support of Palestinians and against the Israeli attacks.